As someone living in Jamaica, I spend very little time watching, listening to, or reading Jamaican news from mass media. Reason being, majority of it is unproductive, over-sensationalized, fear-mongering, reported without context, or entirely out of context. Why, you might ask? Pull up a chair and let's jump into this conversation.
The Jam Fam family. Jam Fam, come hang with me. Yeah.
Hello, Wagwan. Pick up yourself, whether you're there yard or you're there abroad. Welcome back to another episode of Life with the Jam Fams. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at Jamaica's tabloid broadcasting and the impact that this is having on Jamaican population, both at home and in the diaspora. In Jamaica, the broadcasting of news and current affairs is done like tabloids and soap opera. Many Jamaicans are so conditioned to it that they seek it out. Others rely on it to confirm why things are the way they are and free themselves of taking action. Others simply want the chance to say, "I told you so." There are also those who genuinely believe that it is keeping them up to date with things that are happening on the island. Ask yourself this question though. If Jamaica is so bad, why are people all over the world moving to Jamaica, setting up business and living here? They are coming to solve Jamaica's problems that some of us aren't attempting to solve. Then we complain that people are selling out Jamaica. Jamaica news showcase some of the worst situations, stealing people human dignity in the process. When crime happens, they share with the public things that only the forensic team and the detective investigating those cases should know about, and this simply threatens the solving of those cases, and Jamaicans should literally be holding them to account, not entertaining them sharing those information and displaying things like that with the public. What this does is it normalizes criminality in the minds of people who are living on the island and who are listening to these news. Have you ever been speaking to somebody and you hear them say, "This is Jamaica, what you expect?" These are some of the reasons for it. It's normalized in their thinking that this is what majority of Jamaicans are doing, when actually it's the minority that gets up to things like these. And in the same way that this is the case in other countries, the difference is in other countries it's not as normalized in their reporting as it is in Jamaica. The other thing that this type of reporting does is it expects the worst of people, some of whom will deliver. And this is also called the Pygmalion effect. If you expect people to do bad things, you'll find that oftentimes they will. And if you expect good of people, then oftentimes that's what they will produce. So for example, if they expect that Jamaicans are going to be crooks, then oftentimes some people will just resort to doing that. But if they expect them to be honest citizens, that's oftentimes what people will become. And we can see this in places like the UK, where this is often the mode of operation in their society. They expect their citizens to be fair, honest, and upstanding, and by and large, that's what they get. And when people see others not fulfilling that expectations, they do challenge them on it, because that is how their society have been taught and what has been normalized in their environment. And it would be good if the news would play their part in ensuring that a different narrative is being normalized in the minds of Jamaicans. Even when the Jamaican news report on things that are positive, they find a way to nullify it with negative commentary. The Jamaican population should be holding them responsible and accountable. By and large, Jamaicans should be boycotting their productions, not seeking it out. In all fairness, there are many like myself who do not engage, but much more so who are engaging with it and actually believing those things that they showcase with and taking it as the Holy Grail. Hence, they keep producing those things. What I would challenge you to do if you are in the diaspora is to listen how Jamaican news is being reported and compare that to how news is being reported in your country. So for example, if it is that there is a homicide being reported in your country, compare how that is being reported to how it's reported in Jamaica. If there is any form of incident or activity, compare the two reporting and see how the stark difference is. Here is my example. So before we moved to Jamaica, there was an incident in Jamaica where the bauxite company in Yucatan had a broken pipe, and of course there was spillage in the river. And the news channels, social media platform, it was just everywhere. Everywhere you click, you saw reports about it, showing graphic detail of the damage and everything, whilst it was being worked on in the background to solve the problem. At the same point in time, there was a sewage spillage in the UK in one of the beaches, and the reporting of it could not have been more different. It had similar devastating impact on the environment. It was simply reported differently, and it makes a great difference in assuring and reassuring the people of the work that is being done by the professional bodies and organization to ensure that these things are being addressed, and also to notify them of the fact that these things can happen because these pipelines are made by human beings, and therefore they have wear and tear, and they will sometimes break even when they are being assessed and inspected regularly. It's just the fact that the way in which it is reported is so very different, and what it does is it instigates different actions and behaviors from the people who are listening to it. One of our subscribers commented on the channel about the increase in auto theft, and because of so many incidents that have been reported out of context, the subscriber seemed to have automatically leaned to the notion that returning residents are more or most likely to be targeted with regards to auto theft and other forms of burglary and other incidents of that sort. It's as though Jamaicans in the diaspora believes the narrative that Jamaicans are all poor people and returning residents will stick out with wealth when they return. The way in which things are reported, that's how you would consider it to go. However, I've seen people who were here on the island when I left to go to the UK, who I went to college and high school with, and to be honest, from the outside looking in, they have advanced so tremendously in comparison. You know, the lifestyle that they lead is so very different to the one, and much more opulent to the lifestyle that many of us in foreign countries live. And the fact is, lots of them don't even have the privilege and the benefit of credit like people in the diaspora do. And therefore it's unfair for us to think that all of Jamaica is poor, and therefore only returning residents will have any level of wealth to showcase, because not all of us are returning as wealthy people or with lots of material possessions to show. So there are houses, cars and other material possessions that I see Jamaicans with, where I believe that I'm priced out of those things, both by wealth portfolio and by choice, because of the amount of money that it would require for me to buy those depreciating assets means that I would not even venture there. So Jamaica has a blend of socio-economic classes, just like the countries the diasporas are in, and it means therefore that oftentimes returning residents come back here. They blend into the society, not really stand out as people would want us to believe when they are reporting news and highlighting that returning residents and whatever they say after that on the news. Of course, there are incidents where returning residents are the victims of crime when they come to Jamaica, in the same way that people who are migrating into the UK, the USA or Canada become victim of crime. In fact, when I went to the UK decades ago, my first experience of thievery happened to me in Brixton, where my handbag was stolen and the monies that I had in there were removed. This happened in a clothing shop where the workers were of Caribbean descent, and they dumped it in the McDonald's nearby, who then called my cousin that I was staying with at the time to tell them that my handbag was left in their bathroom. I know, of course, that it wasn't left there, and that it was actually in the clothing shop that I went to where my handbag went missing. However, I checked the contents and recognized that the only thing missing from it was my pay that I had for that week. And of course, that I've been in Jamaica for years prior to that, and moving through different cities and different town centers, never experienced that. And I've come back to Jamaica and I feel safe walking around with my things. But this is what happened to me when I moved abroad to another country. So these are things that happens. They're just reported on more in Jamaica with a certain twist on the narrative than it is reported in other places. And of course, the people who experience that when they come back, I do give my sympathies to them and to their families for the experiences that they have gone through. Jamaica's crime is declining by 15% to 20% year on year over the last 5 years. That is published and established fact. A reputable newspaper in Jamaica, however, have published an increase in auto theft. And let's just put this in context so you understand what's happened. The last thing we want is for the Jamaican diaspora to feel as though this increase in any way threatens their return and safety on this island. In 2024, the auto theft increased from 957 in the previous year to 1,400. This is in the whole population, and an increase is still an increase. Nevertheless, let's put this thing in proper context. That is 50 auto theft per 100,000 people. Now, this put fear in the Jamaican diaspora. So let's have a look at some other statistics in context as well. These places that I'm going to mention, Jamaicans live there in high numbers, and hence why I'm mentioning it. I can assure you that the people who are living in these cities or states that I'm going to be mentioning have no knowledge about the level of auto theft in their area, because most likely it's not reported and certainly would not become a headline clickbait for people to report. Wouldn't it have been great if we had seen a report about all of the different areas of crime that had decreased, and then a footnote that mentioned about this increase, which is how it would have been reported in other countries. Now, let's start off first of all with the context. Again, 50 auto theft per 100,000 people in Jamaica. In Georgia, it is 201.5 per 100,000 people. In Fort Lauderdale, it is 263.89 per 100,000 people. In the Bronx, it is 410.1 per 100,000 people. In Toronto, there were 12,302, and this is an increase of 24.9%, and a 48% jump had happened previously to that figure that I've just mentioned of 12,302. The figure prior to that had seen a 48% jump. Now, in Harlesden, London, it's 645 per 100,000 people. And theft generally in Brixton, London, accounts for a third of the crimes that are reported in that region. In Birmingham, UK, it is 3,220 per 100,000 people. These are cities and states in which high numbers of Jamaicans are living in the diaspora. Look at the comparison. They are per 100,000 people in each context. And this is an increase in Jamaica. So it went up from 957, where there were decreases happening. And therefore, I can have the confidence that given that insurance companies do not want to be parting ways with that much money to address this issue, that it is something that is going to be dealt with swiftly and therefore start to normalize and reduce again, because these insurance companies will be working in partnership with the police to ensure that they are not having to part ways with monies that they don't want to pay out for theft. It would be great if we could have more positivity being reported on our news, so that there is a blend of the things that are happening that are negative and the things that are happening that are positive. But it is commonly known that those positive things do not sell news, and therefore it is why news continue to be in business, and why, unfortunately, the newscasters on our island oftentimes choose to become tabloid and soap opera like, rather than just to be fair and balanced in the news that they are reporting. Let us know in the comments down below, what's your view on the landscape of Jamaica with regards to the news that is being reported and the way in which they are reporting the news on our island, and the impact that it has on the conditioning and normalizing of certain behaviors in Jamaica, as well as the fear that it evokes in the Jamaican diaspora. Let us know your views in the comment section below. We look forward to reading your comments.
So this morning we're preparing for Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So I'm making the greens. So yes.
Which greens is it that you're making?
So next I put the dry seasoning. So just put some black pepper, some paprika, and some all-purpose seasoning. And I add more water. I'm trying to push the butter to the bottom so it can actually melt, so I can mix it all.
So what else are you having for Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread that comes after?
So we're making chapati and I think chicken.
So chapati and brown stew chicken is what I'm making. Are you okay with brown stew chicken? So I'm going to use the leg and thigh and debone it so I can have it.
Can we have curry chicken on one of the other days?
So you want me to make 2 batches, a brown stew and a curry? Okay, then we'll do just that.
Okay, so now's the best part of Passover.
What?
When we sort out the snacks so nobody feels like the past 2 years.
So what are you reading?
I'm reading the ingredients.
Why?
Because I am making sure that there are no snacks in the snack pan that have leaven in there.
Okay then, ma'am. So have you found ones that don't?
This has yeast.
Oh, so you're packing them out in a different bag?
So then after Passover you can sort of it.
Okay.
This doesn't have any. Surprisingly, Doritos can be eaten.
Oh.
So I just put all the Doritos over here.
I'm pretty sure that one has. Let's see.
It has lots of weight. It happens.
This is the
this
is the leaven police, yeah. But I'm going to make sure I eat some of hers because all of mine seem to have. If looks good, kill.
Popcorn. No, this doesn't have popcorn. Let's see your favorite Bigfoot. It passed the check.
Okay, well, I'm going to leave you to finish off sorting out the snack and whatever else you're going to do, and I'm going to go work on the dough and then get ready for us to head out.
Okay.
Officers are out and about on the town, helping with law and order in the city centre. Yep, because we're in the city centre. There is the market, and they are up and out. My father just came by to visit, and look at my supplies. I'm telling you guys, this jelly is ooh. I have coconut trees. in my yard, but them not reached the age yet where they're starting to grow. So when I get coconuts, I'm so excited, and I get jellies. So I'm just going to cut one and help myself to it, cool myself down, wash off the heart, as Jamaicans would say, and enjoy it. And I've got my new supply and stock of yams. And look at these. I was saying to him, why aren't these all red? He said this is how the one on that tree is, where they have the mix of the two colors, but they are mature and ready to eat, and they're just as nice as the ones that you see that are black and juicy. So I'm going to help myself to these apples and see what it tastes like, Hey, I can't wait. I can't wait to. This is one of the benefits of living in an area that is, rural enough and still suburban area, because you can then be able to get the sharing of the crops of either neighbors or relatives or friends and associates and acquaintance, because this is Jamaica life. Nice. Hey, woo!
The Jamaican family. Where living the good life. We're royal, cruising through the West Indies, having fun, enjoying the good life. Jam Fam family, the Jam Fam family, yeah. The Jam Fam family. Where living the good life. We're royal, cruising through the West Indies, having fun, enjoying the good life. Jam Fam family, the Jam Fam family, yeah. The Jam Fam family. Jam Fam, come hang with me, yeah.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on this another episode of Life with the Jam Fams. We appreciate your support, and we take pleasure in reading your comments and making every effort to respond to as many of them that we can, as well as to showcase some of the views and the opinions of people as they interact with the content that we are creating. Bye for now, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.